7 minutes. That's all it takes, just 7 minutes a day. 7 minutes to change your mindset. 7 minutes to reclaim control over your thoughts, your actions, your life. And yet, most of us let hours slip by, thinking that transformation is something that happens somewhere else, sometime later. Today, I want to show you how 7 deliberate, focused minutes can break the patterns that hold you back, can reset your habits, and can set you on a path to the life you've always dreamed of. Because the truth is, it's not about time, it's about intention. Awareness and focus during these minutes can break negative patterns. It may seem almost too simple to be true, that a few moments intentionally dedicated can disrupt the habits and cycles that have controlled us for years. Yet, this is the profound power of deliberate attention. Negative patterns do not have to be permanent. They are not fixed. They are learned behaviors, often unconscious routines that repeat themselves, because our minds and bodies have been conditioned to respond in certain ways. Breaking them does not require grand gestures, endless hours, or dramatic interventions. It begins with awareness, truly seeing the patterns, understanding their origins, and recognizing how they manifest in daily life. It continues with focus, the ability to direct the mind with precision, to choose a different path, even if only for a few minutes each day. These minutes may seem small, almost insignificant in the vast scope of a day, but when used consistently and intentionally, they carry the potential to reshape your behavior, your mindset, and ultimately your life. Most negative patterns operate unconsciously. They are automatic responses to stress, frustration, boredom, or habit. Perhaps you react with anger or impatience in certain situations, or maybe you procrastinate, avoid responsibilities, or engage in behaviors that undermine your own growth. Often we do not even notice these patterns until we experience the consequences. They show up as stress, missed opportunities, broken relationships, or feelings of guilt and regret. Awareness is the first step, because it brings these unconscious behaviors into the light. By dedicating even 7 focused minutes to self-reflection, mindfulness, or intentional action, you create a space where these patterns can be observed without judgment. In those moments, you begin to see the triggers, the habitual responses, and the consequences that have previously gone unnoticed. Awareness is not passive, it is active recognition. It is saying, I see this habit, I understand its impact, and I am choosing to do something different. Focus is the companion to awareness. Awareness alone may make you notice patterns, but without focus, the knowledge does not translate into change. Focus gives structure to intention. It allows you to target the specific behavior, thought, or emotion that you want to alter. During these 7 minutes, focus becomes a tool of transformation. You might focus on your breathing, your thoughts, your physical sensations, or even the mental images that arise when you consider a habitual response. Focus means resisting distraction, resisting the pull of old routines, and directing your energy toward intentional action. This combination, awareness plus focus, is what creates a crack in the cycle of negative patterns, an opening for new behavior to emerge. One way awareness and focus work together is by interrupting automatic reactions. Consider, for example, a common pattern like procrastination. You know you have work to do, yet your mind drifts to social media, television, or idle thoughts. Over time, procrastination reinforces a cycle of stress, guilt, and lowered self-esteem. By setting aside a short, focused period, 7 minutes, to examine the urge to procrastinate, you can begin to break that cycle. You can ask yourself why you feel resistance, what thoughts accompany the avoidance, and what small action could replace the avoidance. Awareness allows you to see the internal dynamics at play, and focus allows you to act deliberately, even in a small way. Perhaps in those 7 minutes, you complete a tiny part of the task you've been avoiding. That small action, repeated daily, compounds over time, weakening the negative pattern and building a new, positive habit. Negative patterns are often reinforced by emotional responses. Anger, fear, anxiety, or sadness can trigger behaviors that we later regret. Awareness allows you to identify the emotional triggers that sustain these patterns. You may notice, for instance, that stress causes you to snap at loved ones, or that insecurity prompts avoidance in social situations. 7 minutes of focused attention can create a pause between the trigger and the response, a moment where you are no longer operating unconsciously. In that pause, you can consciously choose a different reaction. You can respond with patience instead of irritation, with curiosity instead of avoidance, or with calm instead of panic. Over time, these conscious responses retrain your brain, replacing automatic negative patterns with intentional, adaptive behaviors. Mindfulness is one of the most effective practices for leveraging awareness and focus. During a short period each day, you can sit quietly, breathe deeply, and observe your thoughts and feelings as they arise. You do not need to judge or suppress them, you simply notice them. This act of observation creates separation between you and your habitual reactions. Awareness becomes a lens through which you view your mind, and focus becomes the discipline to maintain that lens on the present moment. When you consistently practice this, you begin to catch negative patterns at the moment of inception rather than reacting after the fact. You become skilled at recognizing the first signs of a destructive thought, an impulsive response, or a self-defeating behavior. That recognition is the first step toward transformation. Another dimension of awareness and focus involves examining the beliefs that underpin negative patterns. Many of our habits are driven by internalized beliefs, often formed in childhood or reinforced by past experiences. These beliefs can be subtle. I'm not capable. I always fail. Or I'm not worthy. They operate silently but exert immense influence over our behavior. During 7 minutes of intentional focus, you can question these beliefs, identify where they originate, and evaluate whether they are serving you. Awareness allows you to see the disconnect between these limiting beliefs and reality, while focus allows you to actively replace them with empowering thoughts. Repetition of this process gradually reshapes the mental frameworks that sustain negative patterns, paving the way for a healthier, more constructive approach to challenges and opportunities. Intentionality also plays a crucial role in breaking patterns. Many people believe that change happens spontaneously or through sheer willpower, but real transformation requires conscious planning. 7 minutes of daily focus can serve as a form of mental training. During this time, you can set clear intentions for how you want to respond to common situations, how you want to approach your day, or how you want to interact with others. These intentions become guideposts that shape your behavior outside of the 7-minute practice. Awareness allows you to see when your actions deviate from these intentions, and focus allows you to realign them. In essence, you are programming your mind to act differently, reinforcing positive patterns while weakening negative ones. Breaking negative patterns is also about creating momentum. Small, deliberate actions accumulate over time. 7 minutes may seem inconsequential in isolation, but the consistency and intentionality of daily practice compound. One day of mindful reflection may create a moment of insight. Another day may reveal a new strategy for handling a recurring challenge. Over weeks and months, these moments accumulate, creating profound shifts in behavior, mindset, and emotional resilience. Awareness keeps you attuned to the nuances of your growth, while focus ensures that each day's practice contributes to a cumulative effect. This process illustrates a fundamental principle. Change is not about drastic transformation overnight, but about persistent, focused engagement that gradually reshapes your internal and external reality. It is also important to recognize the role of self-compassion in this process. Awareness often reveals patterns that evoke guilt, shame, or frustration. You may notice behaviors you regret, reactions you wish you could undo, or thought patterns that have limited your potential. Focus allows you to work on these areas intentionally, but awareness must be tempered with kindness. Self-compassion transforms awareness from judgment into insight. It allows you to see patterns objectively, without harsh criticism, and to treat each step of change as progress. By combining awareness, focus, and compassion, you create a fertile ground for breaking negative patterns without becoming trapped in cycles of self-blame. Practical application of these principles can take many forms. Some may choose to write in a journal during these 7 minutes, noting recurring thoughts, triggers, and emotional responses. Others may engage in meditation, breathing exercises, or visualization, imagining themselves responding differently in challenging situations. Some may repeat affirmations or recite verses that reinforce positive beliefs. Whatever the method, the key is intentional engagement. 7 minutes of unfocused, distracted activity will not produce results. But 7 minutes of concentrated, purposeful attention on breaking negative patterns becomes a powerful catalyst for change. The process of breaking negative patterns is dynamic. Awareness allows you to notice not only the patterns themselves, but also the contexts in which they occur. You begin to see the environments, relationships, and routines that reinforce old habits. Focus then allows you to take deliberate action, modifying those contexts or altering your responses within them. For example, you may notice that certain social settings trigger anxiety or procrastination. Awareness makes you conscious of the link between context and behavior, and focus allows you to choose strategies to manage or avoid those triggers. This strategic application of awareness and focus extends beyond the individual moment, shaping broader patterns of life and behavior. Neuroscience supports this approach. The brain is malleable, capable of forming new neural pathways through repetition and intentional practice, a concept known as neuroplasticity. Each time you engage in focused awareness, you strengthen pathways that support adaptive, constructive behavior while weakening those that sustain negative patterns. 7 minutes a day may seem small, but consistency and intentionality exploit the brain's capacity to rewire itself. Over time, what was once a default reaction becomes a conscious choice, and the mind learns to operate from a place of control rather than automaticity. Negative patterns often involve both cognition and emotion. Awareness allows you to observe both dimensions simultaneously. You notice the thought that triggers a reaction, the emotion that fuels the behavior, and the physical sensations that accompany it. Focus then allows you to intervene at multiple levels, adjusting your thoughts, regulating your emotions, and modifying your behavioral responses. This multi-dimensional approach amplifies the effectiveness of even a short, 7-minute practice. Instead of treating symptoms superficially, you address the underlying mechanisms that perpetuate the pattern, creating deeper and more lasting change. Accountability enhances the power of awareness and focus. Keeping track of your 7-minute sessions, reflecting on progress, or sharing insights with a mentor or accountability partner increases commitment and reinforces change. Awareness ensures that you accurately observe patterns. Focus ensures that you act with intention, and accountability ensures that you maintain consistency. Together, these elements create a robust framework for transformation, turning small daily practices into significant life shifts. Just 7 focused minutes a day can create lasting change. It sounds almost too simple to be true, yet the power of concentrated, intentional action in even a small window of time is profound. Most people underestimate the cumulative effect of small, consistent efforts. They believe that transformation requires hours of study, exercise, planning, or meditation, when in reality, the quality of attention matters far more than the quantity. 7 minutes, when used deliberately, can serve as a catalyst for reshaping habits, refining mindset, and transforming the trajectory of one's life. The key is focus, not doing more, not working harder, but dedicating attention with intensity and purpose to a single action, a single intention, or a single habit. The human mind operates largely on autopilot. Most of our daily routines are a series of automatic responses to external stimuli. We wake up, check our phones, follow habitual patterns of work or school, interact with others, and return home, often without reflecting on how our actions contribute to the life we truly desire. Negative patterns, procrastination, self-doubt, and reactive behavior all take root in these habitual routines. They operate unnoticed, yet their effects compound over time, creating frustration, stagnation, and regret. 7 focused minutes a day interrupts this autopilot mode. In that short span, we step out of habitual unconsciousness and engage with our intentions deliberately. This creates a crack in the cycle of inaction, a moment where change becomes possible. One of the most powerful aspects of 7 minutes is its accessibility. Many people resist starting new habits because they perceive them as overwhelming or time-consuming. Meditation, exercise, journaling, or self-reflection may seem impossible to fit into a busy schedule. 7 minutes, however, is manageable for nearly everyone. It is brief enough not to induce resistance, yet long enough to be meaningful if used intentionally. The brevity itself creates a psychological advantage. It eliminates excuses, reduces procrastination, and makes it easier to maintain consistency over time. What matters is the intensity of focus during those 7 minutes, not the duration. A fully present 7 minutes can be far more transformative than hours spent distracted or mechanically performing tasks. Focus is the engine of change. Awareness alone, the recognition of what should be done, is insufficient. Focus converts awareness into action. During 7 minutes, the mind can be trained to zero in on a specific goal, cultivating gratitude, examining thought patterns, engaging in reflective prayer, visualizing desired outcomes, or practicing a new skill. Focus prevents the mind from wandering and channels energy toward purposeful activity. It is the difference between performing an act habitually and performing it consciously. When combined with awareness, focus transforms a simple 7-minute session into a powerful tool for reshaping behavior and mindset. Small, deliberate actions compound over time. This principle, often called the compound effect, applies not only to finances or physical training, but to mental and emotional growth as well. Each 7-minute session contributes incrementally to change. One day, it may feel insignificant, just a short meditation, a few sentences in a journal, a single act of kindness, but repeated consistently, these actions accumulate into profound transformation. Over weeks and months, patterns shift. Habits that once felt insurmountable begin to soften. Reactions that were automatic become conscious. Self-perception evolves, and resilience strengthens. The remarkable thing about this approach is that the results are durable. Change built on repeated, focused effort is more sustainable than change forced through sporadic bursts of willpower. 7 minutes is sufficient to interrupt negative thought patterns. Much of human stress, anxiety, and unhappiness originates from repetitive, unexamined thoughts. When we spend 7 minutes observing, questioning, and redirecting our thoughts, we create a mental pause that allows us to choose responses rather than react impulsively. This can be achieved through practices such as journaling, mindfulness, or contemplative prayer. For example, a person may notice the habitual tendency to ruminate on past failures. In 7 minutes, they can examine these thoughts, identify distortions, and replace them with constructive alternatives. Over time, the brain learns new pathways. The automatic default shifts from self-criticism to self-awareness, from defeatism to empowerment, demonstrating that even a short, focused period of reflection can gradually rewire the mind. Consistency is the secret ingredient. While 7 minutes may seem modest, its effectiveness relies on daily repetition. 7 minutes performed once in a while will not produce lasting change. The human brain and nervous system respond to repeated stimuli. Just as muscles grow stronger with regular exercise, the mind strengthens with daily practice. Each session reinforces new thought patterns, habits, and behaviors. It builds momentum, creating a snowball effect. 1 week of consistent 7-minute practice begins to feel natural. 1 month produces visible shifts in perception, reaction, and behavior. Over the course of a year, the compounded effect can be transformative, producing results that may initially seem impossible for a brief daily effort. 7 minutes also allows for targeted practice. Unlike unfocused activity, which scatters energy across multiple objectives, focused time concentrates on a single goal. For example, a person might spend 7 minutes practicing deep breathing to reduce stress, visualizing their future self to cultivate motivation, or writing affirmations to reinforce self-belief. The power of this concentrated attention lies in its precision. When we target a specific area for growth or change, the mind and body respond more effectively than when attention is diluted across numerous tasks. Precision amplifies impact, and repeated 7-minute sessions magnify that impact over time. The psychological principle of immediacy also contributes to the effectiveness of 7 minutes. Large, undefined tasks often feel overwhelming, triggering procrastination and resistance. 7 minutes, however, feels attainable. This sense of immediate feasibility reduces mental barriers to starting and completing a task. Once begun, the mind often finds it easier to extend beyond the initial 7 minutes. Even if it does not, the consistent completion of a short, focused session reinforces discipline, builds confidence, and strengthens self-efficacy, the belief in one's ability to effect change. 7 minutes provides a safe space for experimentation and self-discovery. During this time, individuals can test different techniques, reflect on their responses, and adjust strategies based on what works. Perhaps meditation reduces anxiety for one person, while journaling enhances clarity for another. By dedicating even a few minutes a day to self-exploration, individuals learn about themselves, their triggers, and the practices that cultivate their best state of mind. Awareness, coupled with focused attention, reveals insights that might remain hidden in the business of daily life. Over time, these insights inform decisions, behaviors, and priorities, shaping a life that is more aligned with personal values and goals. 7 minutes also encourages emotional regulation. Many negative patterns persist because emotional responses are unexamined and unchecked. Anger, fear, frustration, or insecurity often drive behavior without conscious choice. Focused practice allows individuals to pause, identify their emotions, and respond deliberately. Techniques such as deep breathing, guided reflection, or mindfulness can transform emotional reactivity into intentional action. Over time, these small daily practices build resilience, self-control, and emotional intelligence, all of which are essential for long-term personal growth and transformation. Another dimension of 7-minute practice is the cultivation of gratitude and positivity. Numerous studies show that regular reflection on gratitude improves mental health, reduces stress, and enhances overall well-being. 7 minutes can be used to write down things one is grateful for, to reflect on accomplishments, or to focus on positive aspects of life. This intentional focus shifts attention from negativity, scarcity, or self-criticism toward abundance, possibility, and self-empowerment. The repetition of this practice rewires the brain to notice opportunities, appreciate progress, and engage with life from a perspective of growth rather than limitation. 7 minutes also strengthens intentional decision-making. Many people move through life reacting to circumstances rather than actively choosing their actions. Daily focused time cultivates clarity, allowing individuals to align behavior with long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. For example, a person may spend 7 minutes evaluating their priorities for the day, identifying key actions that support meaningful outcomes. This brief planning session creates a mindset of purpose, reduces wasted effort, and enhances the likelihood of achieving desired results. Over time, the practice strengthens the habit of conscious decision-making, replacing reactive patterns with proactive strategies. Visualization is another powerful technique suited to a 7-minute window. Imagining oneself succeeding in goals, responding with patience in difficult situations, or embodying desired traits engages the brain's neural networks, reinforcing the patterns associated with those behaviors. The mind often struggles to differentiate between vivid mental rehearsal and actual experience. Therefore, brief, focused visualization can shape thought patterns, emotional responses, and behavior in real-life situations. 7 minutes of consistent visualization, especially when combined with reflective awareness, sets the stage for tangible change, demonstrating that transformation is as much a mental process as it is a physical one. The 7-minute principle also addresses the issue of perfectionism. Many people avoid starting practices for self-improvement because they fear they cannot do them correctly or for a sufficient duration. 7 minutes is inherently non-threatening. It is short enough to start without intimidation, yet long enough to produce meaningful engagement. This reduces resistance, encourages initiation, and fosters a habit of consistent effort. The practice becomes accessible, sustainable, and adaptable, overcoming one of the most common obstacles to lasting change, the need for perfection or lengthy commitment before results can be seen. 7 minutes can also serve as a micro-meditation on personal values and purpose. In this brief window, individuals can reflect on alignment between actions and deeply held beliefs. They can examine whether daily choices reflect their goals, ethical standards, and aspirations. Awareness allows them to notice dissonance, while focused attention facilitates corrective action. Over time, this practice nurtures integrity, self-awareness, and intentional living, gradually replacing mechanical, habitual action with conscious value-driven behavior. Furthermore, 7 minutes of focused practice encourages consistency in self-discipline. Discipline is built not through occasional acts of extraordinary effort, but through repeated, manageable practice. 7 minutes is ideal for reinforcing habits because it is short enough to avoid burnout, yet sufficient to engage the mind meaningfully. Each completed session strengthens neural pathways associated with persistence, attention, and deliberate action, laying the foundation for broader transformation in other areas of life.